In this video I'm going to show you how to insert a gap for the blade to be able to rotate round, as well as a technical drawing, exploded view and a render to the product. So as you can see at the minute, the blade would not rotate as it's inserted into the actual body. There's no gap like on our prototypes that would allow it to rotate round. So in order to create a gap, I'm going to click the right view, or in this instance it would be the front view. So I'm going to select that in the top right hand corner, like so. Then I'm going to click create sketch, and I'm going to select the surface that I want to sketch onto. With the circle tool, which either shows here or under create as circle, center diameter circle, you're going to select that middle section, which is shown by a target in the middle. I'm then going to select that, and I'm going to make it slightly bigger than the blade. It needs to be slightly bigger so that the blade can obviously rotate around it. So I'm going to click there. I'm then going to click finish sketch. I'm going to return to a 3D view by clicking on the house that's at the top right. And now I'm going to extrude this shape. So I'm going to click it, and I'm going to click extrude at the top left. You'll notice that when I push through, it cuts everything out, and I don't actually want to do that. I just want to cut part of the shape where the blade is. So I'm going to change this to two-sided view, so I've got control of both sides then, so I can make this bigger or smaller. You'll also know that it's actually removed the blade because it thinks, sorry if I go this way, it thinks can't stop rotating it. It thinks that we want to cut the blade as well, where we don't want to cut the blade, we literally just want to cut the body. So if you scroll down on here, it will say objects to cut, and you don't want to select the blade, so you want to turn the blade off. You literally just want the handle to be ticked. That means that the handle is the only thing that it will cut through. Now I can adjust this so that there is a gap big enough, and you can see that from the red markings roughly that there's a gap so that the blade can rotate round. And then I'm going to click OK, like so. Now you'll also notice that there is this section here which we can remove later on. Okay, so don't worry about that at this point, we can remove that later on. Now if you wanted to go in and fillet these edges that are here to make them slightly more curved, you can do that, or you can just leave as is. Right, the next step is, as you can see here, I've got this rubber kind of grip that I'll add later on, and I also want to add the same onto the other side. So I'm going to turn the canvas back on, like so. I'm going to flip it round to the other side by clicking that viewpoint, and I'm going to click create sketch, and I'm going to trace that detail that you see there with the spline tool. So I'm going to select the spline tool, which is your dot to dot, and I'm going to go dot to dot to dot, following the path that I can see on my technical drawing. Remember, if you're not happy with something or it goes slightly off, click the tick, and then you can continue from the white point until you're happy with it, like so. Then I'm going to click finish sketch, change it so it's slightly 3D. You could click the house, but it will probably show you the other side instead. And then we're going to select that surface and we're going to extrude it. Now I'm pretty sure that on my other side I did it either 0.2 or 0.3. I'm just going to click 0.2 in this instance. I'm going to turn my canvas back on with it with the eye tool, and your object will then look like so. Now this bit shouldn't be here, this little section that's here. Now to easily fix that, I click create sketch, I select this surface, and with the rectangle tool I'm literally going to draw a rectangle like so, which I will then extrude outwards to cut it. So I'm going to select this, I'm going to click finish sketch, and then I'm going to click extrude, and then I can cut it out. Now as you'll see again, it is trying to cut the blade, so I'm going to turn the blade off, I'm going to turn the bolt off, and I just want it to get rid of that handle, that weird cylindrical shape that's showing on the handle. And again, I make sure it's two-sided, so I've got control on both sides. Now when I check again, that looks pretty good to me, and then I click OK. Now what you'll notice is that the bolt is actually not long enough for my design, so I could do one of two things. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it over here so it's highlighted in blue, and I'm going to right click, move / copy. I've then got enough control so that I can bring it over. That's not fully touching, so I'm going to make it -3.1. Nope, it's -3.2. That's perfect. Now you'll notice still that the bolt isn't big enough, so I should be able to select this edge that's here and right click, press and pull. So what that will do is it will pull it out. It's slightly different to extrude because it will just continue with an already existing body. When I click extrude, it makes a new one, and we don't want to make a new one. We just want to continue with what already exists. And then I'm going to click OK. Then you'll notice that the nut is actually hidden inside the handle, so I'm going to select it again. I'm going to right click, move / copy, and then I'm going to drag it out so that it's attached to the actual bolt. I'm going to change the left view, and then I'm going to change the measurements to, do it again. So nut, right click, move / copy, it's up there, and then I'll have to drag it this way because it was slightly too far, so I'm going to do 0.8, nope, 0.5, no, 0.3, that's about right, and I'm going to click enter. Perfect. And then what you should end up with is a fully attached pizza cutter like so. There what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to render, so I'll click design, render. I'm going to get rid of that bit because I don't need to see it. I'm going to click the colour wheel, and then under fusion appearances I'm going to select the material that I'd like. So I'm going to go paint, glossy. I'm going to get this one, just see what that's like, and I'm going to start to drag it across. Now remember, if you want to select certain parts, so for example you might just want that strip to be that colour, just click cancel, try that again, then I can just drag it to that section and it will just make that colour or that part, that whatever it is you want it to be. So I'm going to zoom in again. Even the edges can be different colours if you wish them to be. It is slightly temperamental depending on how good your computer is. I might do dark grey. I'm going to select this bit now, drag this over, and then this little bit as well, drag that over like so. Now for the blade, obviously you want to make it stainless steel, aluminium, any kind of metal really. So I'm just going to go aluminium. If you want to play around with the colours, you can play around with the colours. I'm going to go cast aluminium. Let's try that. I would like a shiny one really, but have they got aluminium? Stainless steel, there we go. Download that and then drag it over to your actual blade. Remove it, do it again. Okay. The reason it came up as that is because it just thought I wanted that part and I didn't. I wanted the whole thing to be. You might want it polished. I might change that. So if I right click, unassign and delete, and then drag it over again, polished one's better. Now if you weren't happy with the colour of yellow, if you right click edit, then you can play around with some of the colours that are there instead, and then click done. So if I pretend I've rendered all of it, I then click play, and then you'll notice that it will start to render. Now if you wanted to add a sticker here, so let's say for example I was sponsored by Stanley, obviously, then I would get this picture, but this picture does have a background, so I need to write Stanley logo PNG. That one still has a background, that one doesn't. I'd then save image as, save it in my area, go back onto Autodesk. You'll notice it's starting to render. I'll stop the render. I'll then click decal, which is at the top, insert from my computer. I then click quick access, or you go and find the file, it will be somewhere. Then I click open and it will ask you where you want to place it. So I'm just going to drag that. Obviously you guys can play around with it a little bit more. You can also adjust the sizing of it if you wanted to, and the positioning as well. So I'm just going to click OK, and likewise I would do it on the other side as well, so I'd kind of mirror it so it's got the same effect on the other side in that instance. Now once this is fully rendered, so I want it that way, I'd then print screen it, I'd put it onto PowerPoint, and then I'd adjust this little arrow that's here to infinite so that you've got the best quality CAD model. You do have to wait a little bit, so most of them will take 3 minutes, 4 minutes, depending on how long it is necessary in order for it to be a full 3D model that is fully rendered. Likewise, if you wanted to add a pizza in there as well for the effect, you could get a pizza picture as a PNG without a background, put it onto PowerPoint, and then insert this pizza cutter onto the top of it as well.